I saw this 1933 Dodge Brothers truck for sale online, and without even thinking about it, I bought it. It came with this cool tow truck wrecking boom, so I set out on a road trip adventure from Southern California to northwestern Washington, only 2 miles from the Canadian border. It was a beautiful drive, and I got to see a lot of the country I have not seen before. I drove along lakes and rivers and through forests, across all kinds of neat old bridges through the countryside. It seemed like some of these roads I would drive on would never end, and once in Washington, it seemed like the rain would never end either. Once I was on the road, I learned that the frame and suspension and chassis components may be available in eastern Washington. So after my stop in northwestern Washington, picking up the cab and sheet metal and wrecking boom, I ended up making a trek east to go find the frame and original front and rear axle for the truck. Once the rain stopped, I had a beautiful sunset before I stopped for the night. In the morning, I would get up to go find my truck. Okay, let's go over and take a look at these truck parts that I bought. Well, it looks like a 90-year-old truck. Let's go look for that wrecker boom he said's on the other side of the barn in the weeds. Alright, here's the Manly wrecking crane out here in the weeds. He told me some of these weeds will sting you like a bee sting, so I'm going to have to be careful so I don't get torn up getting this thing out of here. Well, the skid steer wouldn't start to load this cab in my truck, so we had to drag it over to his barn opening, cut a roller out of his door so my dually would fit in there, and pick it up and load it with a chain fall. It worked but took forever. Now I'm going to drag this wrecking boom up to the road so we can winch it on my trailer.
gotta still be able to get around it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We get it up on the road.
That was too easy.
Yeah, gotta use the equipment, work smart. All right, finally got all these parts loaded up here. It took us almost 3 hours because the tractor wouldn't start. Finally done though, and we'll be headed east now to try and find the rest of the parts for this truck. Okay, I'm heading across the Hood Canal floating bridge here in Washington. I don't think I would know this was a floating bridge if I hadn't seen it on the map, because it seems just like a regular old concrete bridge across this waterway, but I guess it opens up to allow water vessels to pass through, and they have the right of way. So fortunately, there was no vessels that needed to pass, and I didn't have to wait for them, but it is quite the view out here. Headed back onto the land. Going back into another pouring rainstorm, and traffic is moving quite slow. Hopefully the storm lets up soon, because this is going to add a lot of time to my day that's already going to run long. Once I got up over the mountains in Washington, the rainstorm let up, and I had a beautiful view heading east, looking for the rest of my truck. Okay, I'm headed down this country road here, looking for the farm property where the suspension parts of this truck should be located. It should be coming up here soon. I finally found the driveway, and I'm heading up here. He said he would be in a red truck and that I could follow him out to the back 40 of this property. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful evening here in Washington. I've been driving country roads across this property for at least 15 minutes, but he says we're getting close now. I sure hope the parts I'm looking for are back here, because this is taking a lot of time and I have a lot of miles to travel to get back home. Looks like there are still some old trucks and tractors sitting back here. He told me the truck I bought used to sit in the back of this property, and he parted it out about 10 years ago and sold the body to a guy that wanted to make a hot rod out of it. All we ended up finding here was the rear end and front axle. The guy's cherry picker was leaking oil as bad as we were pouring it in, but we got it done. Okay, we finally got this rear end and this front end loaded. It's almost 10 o'clock here, and we got to go over to another property, and he says he knows where the front half of the frame is at for this thing. So we'll head over there and try and get that done. Maybe we'll be done before midnight. Anyways, here we go. We ended up driving almost an hour south to the next property, and we're pulling in here. I sure hope the frame is here. He says it is, and he just saw it the other day, but you know how that goes. Okay, there's a frame sitting there. I sure hope it's the one for my truck. Let's get out and check it out. Alright, this is the frame from my truck, so we're gonna drag it over to an old crane and try and lift it up to get it on my trailer. Okay, so we got the frame laying here. We got a chain going from the frame up over this old boom thing, forklift, boom, crane, and over to the back of the truck. So he's gonna pull forward with the truck, and hopefully it'll raise it up for us and we can get this over the trailer, get out of here. Unfortunately, we were not able to load this frame on the trailer in one piece, so now we are cutting it in half with the cutting torches in this field full of dry grass at 12:30 a.m. Hopefully we can keep the fire under control since there is no running water on this property, and I don't think we have a fire extinguisher anywhere around here. Once it's cut in half, we should be able to get it loaded onto the trailer and call it a night. We finally finished loading everything at 1 o'clock a.m. and all the guy wanted to do was talk afterwards. I ended up sleeping in my truck here on the property and tying my load down in the morning. One last walk around look and then we'll head for home. Nice views and blue skies today and no traffic. It looks like it's going to be a great day of driving. Finally back home with my load of treasures. 3,000 miles and 4 days on the road alone. I am beat, but let's get this unloaded and see what we have to work with. Okay, so here it is, loosely assembled. My 1933 Dodge Brothers 1.5 ton tow truck wrecker. It has definitely had a hard life, but every piece of it tells a story, I'm sure. It's so neat that it still has the original Dodge Brothers ID tags on the side of the hood. It would really be something to see all the cars that this truck used to tow back when it was in service. Still has the original upholstery on the seat and rubber floor mat in it. But now let's check out this Manly wrecking crane here. Heavy cast iron and hand fabricated. We sure don't see stuff made like this anymore, even with a cast iron name badge. And a brass ID tag here that says Made in the USA. So my plan for this truck is to get it put back together on an original chassis, and we'll see where it goes from there. Thanks for following me on my journey to pick it up, and we will start getting this truck put together.